Let's take a look at how common table expressions, or CTEs, work in ClickHouse. They're defined using the with clause, just like a CTE you've probably ever used in any other database. There's a couple ways to do it in ClickHouse. If you're just setting an expression equal to an identifier, then the expression goes first and then the identifier goes after the as command. And then if it's the result of a subquery, so at the bottom of the slide here, well, then you put the identifier first and then the query follows the as clause in parentheses. And then there's different types of CTEs. So those simple ones, I'll show you one of those. And then I'll show you how to do the results of a query. And then finally, I want to show you the difference between writing a query, a CTE that does a global aggregation versus a group by aggregation where it actually calculates the value of the CTE for each group in your main query. And so we'll cover all of these in the examples here. So I'm up here in ClickHouse Cloud and I have a table called Amazon Reviews. It's pretty cool. It's got a bunch of reviews of all these products up in Amazon, and you can see there's about 151 million reviews. And we can take a look at what some of them look like here. We'll just grab a few rows. You'll see that there's like the customer who wrote the review, the product ID of the product that's being reviewed, and then there's the title of the product, like this is a book about invention and evolution. And then if you go over here, you can see the heading of the review, and then this is the actual review. This is a beautiful book. So that's what the data set looks like. And I have a query here. I picked a very specific product ID. It's actually Candy Crush Saga. It has the most reviews. It has like 50,000 reviews or something. It's the most reviewed product in my data set here. And I'm just using it as an example of how to write a CTE. So I'm going to write my first CTE, and I'm going to define this particular product ID, and I'll just call it my ID for lack of something else. So that's the common table expression. So now I can use my underscore ID anywhere in my query. So if I want to select the average star rating, for example, from the Amazon reviews, where the product ID equals my ID. That's a pretty common use of a CTE. And then what's nice about that, I suppose, is I could easily come in and change this product ID if I wanted to. So I could run the query over and over again. Simple example. This is that first one I was showing you where you put the back on the slides where you put the the value first and then you put the identifier. And it doesn't have to be just like a constant expression. It could be something like maybe I want to get the first maybe I want to get like the first term of the product title. So I suppose for Candy Crush, it'd be just candy or something like that. So I can use the split by char method. It splits it by a space because I put a space in there. That returns an array. Arrays in ClickHouse are one base. So that CTE is going to be the first word of the product title, and it's going to get called for every row, that shows up that it needs to be in my query down here, whatever rows there are, it's going to get called. So if I just to see if it works, if I put like the product title and then we'll see if it grabbed the first word. I don't want to do it on all of these, so I'll just grab like 100 rows or something. And we'll see that there's the product title, and then first word is like, this is what? Invention and evolution, the first word's invention. Arming and fitting, the first word's arming, and so on. So that's a common table expression where I actually use the result of a function on one of the columns for each row that got processed. So let's look at an example where the common table expression is the result of a query. And in this particular case, this is where you put the identifier first. So I'm going to call my common table expression top 100 products, and then I'm going to write the query inside parentheses here. And the query can be anything you want. I'm just going to grab the product ID, and I want the name of the product. I'm going to group by product ID. I want the top 100 products based on the number of reviews they have. So if I group by product ID, I won't have the product title in the grouping, but I'll just use the any function to take care of that. And then we'll figure out what the count is. So I'll call count total reviews. So I've got these three values here. I'm going to grab those from Amazon reviews. I'm going to group by the product ID. And Oh, I want to order by the total reviews descending. And I'll just grab like the top 100 because that's what I want. So this is the top 100 products. Obviously, I could just run this query and see the top 100 products. I'm going to save the result of those in this common table expression. And now I can query that common table expression almost, I mean, just like it is a table. It's basically a result, whatever the result set is. So I'll just select star from top 100 products. I suppose I could do something like where the total reviews is like a lot of reviews, like greater than or equal to 20,000 or something like that. That'd be a lot of reviews. So let's see what it does. Might take a second for this query to run. And we can see that Candy Crush Saga had the most reviews. It looks like I got 21 rows back. So of the top 100 product reviews, 21 of them, so there's 21 products that have more than 20,000 reviews. And so that's an example of a common table expression where the common table expression is the result of a query. All right, let's look at another example. Let's look at one. I'm going to compute what you would consider like a global aggregation. I'm going to look at, let's say, for example, I want to get the average number of helpful votes of all the products in the Amazon reviews table. And I'll have to give that a name. So notice the syntax here. I'm back to that first example where I started with the expression and then I gave it a name as an identifier. So here I'm going to call it like the average helpful votes because that's what it is. So that is the average of helpful votes for all however many millions of products we have. And then I'm going to use that down here. So let's just see how many Amazon reviews are, have more helpful votes than average. So I'll just do where helpful votes is greater than or equal to the average helpful votes. And that didn't take long at all. So out of the, that's hard to read. Let's do the old format readable quantity. That's one of my favorite little functions here. And I'll just run that query again. And we'll see that about 30 million of the total have helpful votes that are above average. I got one more example I want to show you, and it's a little bit different syntax. I'm going to figure out how many votes there are per product category. And so that particular calculation is going to happen not for every row down here in my select, in the query that I'm about to write. It's going to be for every grouping. And so you'll see as I go through this. So I'm going to select, for example, I'll grab the product category because that's what I'm going to group by. And then I'm going to grab the sum of the votes, which is going to be calculated for, like I said, for each product category. So I'll grab that from Amazon reviews. I got a group by product category. And I'm going to order by, it doesn't really matter what I order it by. I'll just order by the sum of the votes descending. And we'll see how long that takes. That goes pretty quick. And you can see that books has this many votes. How many votes is that? Well, I could have done my little trick again one last time. Format readable quantity. And if you get one thing out of this video, maybe it's that function right there. There's 75 million helpful votes for books. So notice that this common table expression got calculated not for every row in the table, but for every result of, every group, so every product category. Interesting. It's a clever use of of a common table expression. And so hopefully that helps you now with how to use CTEs in ClickHouse.